Most agency owners stay stuck under $30,000 per month because they're selling services instead of outcomes. And because of that, their clients treat them like vendors instead of partners. In this video, I'm going to break down our exact 5-step system that we've helped over 250 agency owners reach the 7-figure run rate by shifting how they position the price, promise, and deliverables in their offer. There's no gimmicks, no bloated retainers, just a format that we call the Strategy Partner Agency. And to kick things off, let's start with one of the most essential components that you need if you want to create a magnetic offer that makes sales calls easier to have and clients more enthusiastic to want to work with you. Let's dive in. And I really want to just break down our Strategy Partner Agency for you so you can see how this has worked for so many other agencies and how it can work for you. So whether you run a marketing agency, consulting agency, coaching agency, a SaaS company, anything where you serve businesses and you are selling them a service that gets them a specific outcome, this video is for you. I'm going to break it all down for you here in just a moment. But if you could do me a huge favor, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you find this video helpful. And also like the video. It helps us reach more people on the YouTube algorithm. And then also, if you're kind of interested in just what this might look like for us to do this for you, more than welcome to go check out that link in the description where you can kind of see what our prospecting in a box system looks like. And if you also just want a little bit of a preview of what that looks like, you can DM me on Instagram the word map, and our team will send over our entire objection handling map so you can kind of get that little Costco sample of the process. Now, this is just part 1 of a 4-part series. So at the end, I'll link up the next video. I just wanted to start here because this is where everything kind of stems from. That's your offer. So let's talk about step number 1 and dive right in. You need to be starting with who, not how. So many of us have these passions or skills around marketing, whether it's technical or creative or marketing itself. But ultimately what happens is your passions and skills don't always align with the needs and desires of the target market you're selling to. Yes, do all businesses need marketing? For sure. Do all of them need the same marketing? Absolutely not. And a really good example and encapsulation of this is if you are selling like database reactivation, where is essentially you are texting and emailing a client's client list to bring back old customers and reactivate them. If you're doing that for a company like a roofer, it's not going to make a lot of sense, right? People don't need to buy roofs that often. It's like every 20, 30 years. So you need to make sure you actually start with who do you want to serve, and that will allow you to inform what you should be selling them. And how you do this is you start by desired end states. What are the things that this person most wants to do, and what is the vehicle that is most likely easiest to get them there? Yes, different vehicles can still get them there, but again, you are wanting to do the thing that is fastest, easiest, and the most pain-free. Hint, we're going to talk about that here in just a moment in step 2. But if you aren't starting with who, you're very often going to create this challenge where you're going to get on a call and you're going to have a product market mismatch where the people you're selling to don't necessarily care or want the thing that you are selling, and it's going to create frustration. Also, a huge thing to consider, and you've probably heard the advice because it's cliche at this point, you need to niche down. But why do you need to niche down, right? What is the purpose of doing so? What happens if you don't niche down is you end up falling into this bucket of selling everything to everyone. You weld on a bunch of different offers and a bunch of different fulfillment mechanisms and ultimately create what we call a Frankenstein agency. And really, when you're selling everything to everybody, you are nothing to nobody, meaning that if you're going and selling to, again, I'll use a roofing example, they don't care of all the other different random businesses that you've worked with. They want to see that you have consistent track records around creating results for roofers. And also, from just a pragmatic standpoint in your business, when you sell the same thing to the same people, it'll allow you to have the same conversations over and over in sales, and the outcome and the value is the same to that person. So it's a lot easier to communicate, have the same objections, and know how to handle those. And 2, and equally important, it doesn't create this massive fulfillment bottleneck because, like an assembly line, your team will be able to actually execute the things over and over. They'll be able to follow a recipe. And if you're not niching down and if you're working with a bunch of random people, ultimately what you do is create friction for your fulfillment team or yourself to get the job done. This is very dangerous and you need to nip this in the bud as soon as possible. And my recommendation is at the early stages of your journey, be more fluid with the people you are willing to work with, but eventually within the first couple of months, you need to pick that direction, go all in for a couple of months to build a feedback loop and decide whether or not this is something you can stick with or pivot. Because the reality is you can choose any of it, but you can't long-term stick with all of it because it'll create too much friction. All right, that's step number one, pretty straightforward. Step number two, you need to actually be focused on selling away pain and the outcomes you produce, not the deliverables. People don't care necessarily about how you get them the outcome. They just want to know, what pain does it solve for me? What outcomes can I expect? And very often the most simple things are going to be the things that scale. If we're trying to sell like this crazy AI chatbot with all these automations and reputation management, and then these workflows on the back end of that, and you're running paid ads and doing SEO and content and email, like you can see how this starts to get a little messy. So again, like step one says, the who is going to inform the how, and what you do in terms of the services you pick are the things that will, as quickly as possible, solve the pain your clients are in, produce big outcomes that they want, and not focus and fixate on what you do, because they don't care what you do. And frankly, they've probably tried what you've done before and have preconceived opinions and notions about what that does and looks like. And that is going to break your ability to actually sell them when you get onto a conversation with them, because like, oh, I've tried Facebook ads before, I've tried AI before, I've tried, whatever those things are. And again, stay tuned in this video because I'm going to give you in a couple more steps here, kind of how to differentiate yourself really easily without necessarily having to sell something totally new and different. It's pretty straightforward actually. So stick with me here, but make sure you are picking a offer that we say is simple to scale and simple to sell. It's simple to sell because it's one thing, it's clear, it promises an outcome and solves a certain pain, and then simple to scale because you're just doing one thing over and over again and you're not trying to sell everything under the sun. That is a very quick way to go crazy and hate your business. Cool, let's keep rocking through these. Step number 3. I lied. This was, I said, a couple steps later. I had blocks over these, but bear with me. Step number 3, unique opportunity. So this is how you take what everyone else is selling and package it in a way that feels like it's new and different. And the novelty of that will make sales a lot easier. So I'll give you a quick example outside of the B2B space. So Beachbody is a huge fitness brand, and they sell a fitness program called P90X. Maybe you've heard of it. The idea, though, behind their marketing is P90X is not that much different than other at-home workout programs. But what Beachbody does really, really well, and you need to take a page out of their book, is they name the system and the product something that no one else has done. So when someone goes, I've done at-home workouts, I've done dieting, I've done yoga, I've done CrossFit, I've done just like a personal trainer. Well, you haven't tried P90X, and the novelty of that in our brains makes us realize, hey, you're right, this isn't something I've tried before. And if you want to get really tactical with this, what I would be doing is name a system like we have here, Strategy Partner Agency, and that's even a component of a bigger system, Prospecting in a Box, and you can eventually start to build up this intellectual property and naming conventions that no one else can use because it's your IP. And what, again, this allows you to do is establish authority and leadership because, hey, we have a system no one else sells, but it allows you to differentiate. And on a sales call, and someone's like, well, we've tried Facebook ads before. Hey, you haven't tried the open technique though. And what the open technique does is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Facebook is just one component of that, but you need all these other mechanisms to make it work. And do you feel like you would get a better outcome if you had these additional components, Mr. Prospect? You probably would. So again, packaging as a unique opportunity is one of the core things you need to do. All right, step number 4. And by the way, before I get into this one, make sure if you haven't already and you're enjoying this, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you want to see how we can do this for you, go check out the link in the description below the video, and we can talk about what it might look like to work together. All right, let's keep rocking. Cool. Step number 4, value-based pricing. A lot of times people just make up the pricing. They think whatever the going rate in their market is, hey, that's what I'll charge. This is not the right way to do it. Here's going to be my recommendation. I'll keep it very, very simple for you. How we're taught from our CFO and the CFO team we've hired is our fulfillment costs need to make up no more than 40% of what a client pays us in our top line revenue. So to keep this really simple, once you understand what your cost of goods sold is, so essentially what it costs you to fulfill per client, you take that number and you multiply it by 2.5. That will give you the baseline of what you need to be charging at the floor to have a profitable business. So there's margin to pay your taxes, pay your team, pay yourself, pay for more acquisition. But how we then arrive at the ceiling of what we could charge is typically by a multiple of 5 or 10, meaning that we want our clients to realize at least a 5-to-1, ideally more, but 5-to-1 is kind of that minimum threshold, return in working with us. And what that looks like is if you want to charge $2,000 a month to your clients, you need to make sure that they are earning, and it's value-based, because what's the dollar and cents that they earn needs to be about $10,000 per month from the effort that you put in. And this is where, again, if you're trying to sell a $2,000 a month package to a restaurant, it's going to be hard, right? How many meals and dinners do you need to serve or sell for them just to break even on that investment, let alone 5 or 10x the investment? So it's not that you can't work with restaurants. You just have to make sure that the ceiling of your price, which is again a multiple about 5 to 10 of what you want to charge of the value they get, that's that ceiling. And then at the floor, a multiple of 2.5 times whatever your cost of goods sold is. Whatever you pay your team, the fulfillment partner, etc. That is how you're going to arrive at value-based pricing that makes sense for your business and makes it a no-brainer for your clients to want to keep paying that. Last and certainly not least is results and retention. Now, I feel like this goes without saying, but some of you who might not know or understand this, you need to actually get results. You need to be able to consistently produce the outcome that you promise and over deliver on the promises that you make. So there's a classic saying, under promise and over deliver. I believe that to be true here as well, where people want to feel like, wow, I got a lot more than I bargained for, what I actually paid for. And even though they said I was going to get this, I got this. So Five Guys is kind of a funny example of this. I don't know if you guys ever go to that burger place, but when you order a small fry or a medium fry, they don't just give you the fries in the little cup. They dump in a whole bunch more French fries on top of that. And you kind of feel this rule of reciprocity or like this generosity, like, wow, like that was so cool of them. So in a weird kind of small example, same thing matters here. You want to tell them like, hey, we're going to fill up this cup, but in reality, you're really going to dump a lot more on top of that and make them feel like they're getting way more than they're actually paying for. That over delivery is going to cause them to want to retain long term. Now, in terms of retention outside of just getting results, maintaining client relationships. So in the strategy partner agency model, what we're going to recommend is you have some component of a done-for-you lead gen service where you're actually producing consistent sales calls and opportunities, jobs for them, a lower ticket kind of do-it-yourself, done-with-you SaaS. Ideally, it just happens in the background. I call this a utility offer, where like a utility bill, they're just going to keep paying it because it just keeps working. This could be like AI, missed call text back, reputation management, but something where they could pay just a couple $100 a month to maintain that, and it allows you to use that offer not only as a front-end downsell, but as a back-end retention mechanism if they potentially churn out of the higher ticket offer. Then lastly, you want to also be considerate of, in the strategy partner agency model, make sure that you are not just acting as a lead vendor, not just sending them leads and checking in once a month and saying, hey, did you like it? Cool, good job. But no, you are actually going to meet them in the middle. And what I mean by that is have communications around other places they can improve their business. This is almost like acting as a micro or fractional CMO, but I don't want you to do everything and anything for them and go way out of scope of the project. Is just having regular strategic conversations around how to fix other parts of their business that affect what you do. Because how common is it for someone to tell you, hey, the leads are bad, the leads suck. But in reality, reality, they don't have a proper sales process or follow-up process. And if you can be the agency that helps them fix some of these things, not necessarily doing it for them, but at the very least advising on them, is how you elevate yourself from just a lead vendor to an actual strategic partner that they look at as a need to have and not nice to have. So this was the really quick version of this. If you would like to go check out the next video in this series, it should pop up here on YouTube right now. I'm going to link it above or below here in the description, and then there should be a pop-up here that you can go check that out. Go over to part 2. That is where you can start to learn now, once you have this offer foundation, how you can actually start to get consistent sales calls for that opportunity, so you have multiple people every day that you can possibly transact with and put your offer in front of. And again, if you like this video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and check out the link in the description if you want to know what it looks like to work with us. I'll see you in the next one.